Thank you for the introduction, Nathaniel. It's a pleasure to be here. Now, as you can see, like Hans, I've come rather a long way to be with you today, so please do excuse me if I appear to be just a little bit jet-lagged. So my name is Steve Burry, and I'm the Managing Director of Dennis Maps, the leading map printer in the UK. And you may be asking, who is he? Why is he here? And what can he tell us about the business and pleasure of mapping? All of this will become much clearer later, and of course we will have time for your questions at the end. Today, I would like to share with you some examples of the fantastic cartographic printing that we specialise in. But before I begin, I hope that you have all received your Dennis Maps delegate bags full of wonderful gifts. If not, please be sure to stop by the registration desk to pick it up later. Dennis Maps is the printer of choice for all of the Ordnance Survey paper map series in the UK. Ordnance Survey, I'm sure you know the name, is the national mapping agency of the UK and is the creator of some classic British cartography. Their maps are renowned for their accuracy, their detail, and their reliability. Several years ago, Ordnance Survey refreshed the design of their whole paper map series, and they invited the map buying public to submit their own images for use on the new style map covers. I was asked by Ordnance Survey to select the best overall cover image, and this stunning shot of the bird in flight was my choice. I thought it was amazing the first time that we printed it, and I think it's just as striking now. So this map cover remains very close to my heart. So, cover's great, so what? What's so special about the map? It is, of course, a unique level of detail within the cartography. This is an example of the Ordnance Survey Explorer series, which is the most popular and highly detailed series that Ordnance Survey produce. These maps are used for a variety of outdoor activities, such as hiking, but really any purpose where you need to plan a route or plot your exact location. You can see that the amount of detail within the cartography is very refined, whether that's the contour lines, the field boundaries, mud and sand, forest areas, sea, lakes, rivers, roads, urban areas. Literally every aspect of the landscape is captured. Quite simply, in a scale of 1 to 25,000, these maps are the go-to reference for the map buying public in the UK. This next map sheet is an example of the Discovery series, which is published by Ordnance Survey Ireland. This particular example is focused around Galway Bay in the western part of the country. The Discovery series illustrates very well the very different cartographic style that is used by Ordnance Survey Ireland when compared to that is used by Ordnance Survey in the UK. Whether that's a representation of the contour lines, the hill shading, the use of the green background fill. Quite simply, this is a very, very different and distinctive cartographic style. Now, if you're looking for a piece of artistic beauty, then these geological maps illustrating the bedrock that lies beneath the surface of the UK and Ireland may be just your thing. I find it fascinating how they combine both geographical and geological data with the geological information brought so colourfully to the fore. I find they're just beautiful pieces of artwork in their own right, and I'm just blown away every time that we print them. This particular example received a highly commended award at the British Cartographic Society Awards in 2017, and it is still widely used by schools today in the UK. Now, there's a saying that goes, if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going to end up somewhere else. And this map is a great example of how maps can be used for another purpose rather than just purely functional navigation. So this map was created to support the project for London to become a national park city in 2019. And I hear you say, what? Wait, London, a national park city? I know, believe it or not, it's true. And this was actually confirmed on July the 22nd, 2019. If we take a look at the detail of the map, so this is London as you've never seen it represented cartographically before. The map focuses on green space, water and leisure activity areas within the city. This really does give this world metropolis a very different feel to how it's normally represented on a map. Now, this map did cause quite a bit of controversy, both during its creation and upon its release. I think it's fair to say the traditionalists in the UK cartographic community most definitely did not approve, and probably they still don't, to be fair. But it has been a very interesting project all the way through, and it was quite a challenging production for us. And it ended up being a very collaborative project with the creator of the map, a guy called Charlie Peel. And we went through many complex iterations before arriving at the final version of the print file. And what a print file it was. Not particularly large, but very, very complex in terms of the multiple layers of data that comprise the map. It really did push the processing power of our software applications to their very, very limit. The map is also printed in 6 colours rather than the usual 4, and I think this works very well. The use of the special dark green highlighting the green space areas, the use of the fluorescent orange highlighting the leisure activity areas works very well and does bring these special places within the city to life and highlights them on the map sheet. If we take a closer look at the detail, you can see that the normal aids to navigation and landmarks are just stripped away, focusing as it does on green space, water and leisure activity areas. And this does make navigation very, very difficult. I can vouch for that. I've tried it, it's tough. My advice, if you're ever in London using this map, don't. It really doesn't work for that purpose. But it has proved to be very, very popular nonetheless. And I think one great example of this is that we exhibited at a cartographic event in London at the end of 2018. And we took this map and a few other examples along. And I couldn't understand how at the end of the first morning, on the first day, all of our copies of this particular map sheet had been collected up by the delegates attending the event. And I wondered, where have all these people come from? Why all at once? And why this map sheet? Anyway, it became clearer later in the day that the creator of the map, Charlie Peel, who had also been giving a presentation at the event, at the end of his talk had urged all of the delegates to head over to the Dennis Map stand and collect their free copy of his map. So, yeah, that was where the tidal wave of humanity came from, and all in one go. So, yeah, wherever you are, Charlie, thanks for that. I still owe you for that one. So, I'd now like to move on to a couple of business applications. So most of us would have arrived into Seattle by aeroplane, I think, and what we may not have known is that quite likely our pilot may well have had a copy of these aviation charts in the cockpit, or they would certainly have been hoping they had no reason to use it. And you may ask, in this technological age, why are these aviation charts even needed at all? So these charts are used as hard copy backups in the event of an electronics systems failure. In an emergency, they can guide the plane safely to the ground. Now, as you can see on this particular example, which is the area around Seattle, the amount of information contained is very, very high level, very technical, very difficult to interpret unless you're trained how to do so. But in an emergency, these charts can save lives. And in most parts of the world, commercial airliners are not able to take to the sky unless they have the most up-to-date and relevant chart available for the flight that they're about to undertake. Now, when we first started to print these charts, it was quite a learning curve experience for us. In the beginning, it was the usual printer's instinct, lots of ink on the sheet, bright and beautiful, everything looks great. But over time, it became apparent that actually the end user's requirement, let's say the pilots, was actually counterintuitive to this. It really was a case of less is more. And we had to reduce our inking levels from the normal starting point down, absolute minimum. And we couldn't understand why that would be. But it became apparent, actually, that too much ink on a sheet, when it's viewed in a cockpit at night, can cause lots of glare and make it very difficult for the pilots to use. So obviously once we had that particular piece of customer feedback, we took that on board, and we've been producing these charts very successfully for many years now. I'd now like to move on to hydrographic charts, which of course represent the cartographer's art in a slightly different format, representing what lies beneath the surface of the water rather than on the surface of the land. And as we know, the seabed is not a constant. It changes all of the time. So if we take a closer look at the detail of this particular chart, which is of a lake in Finland, you can see again that the level of information is very technical and very refined. So whether that's safe routes of navigation, potential hazards, and also rites of passage, and where you really should not try and sail. All of this information and more is contained within this chart. Again, safety is paramount. So before you set sail, whether that's out to sea or in this case a lake in Finland, it's very important that you have the most up-to-date and relevant chart for the voyage that you're about to undertake. Now, that does mean that these charts need to be updated and reprinted fairly regularly. And these charts happen to be digitally printed on a material called Tyvek, similar to polyart, Nathaniel actually. Again, it makes them very waterproof and tearproof too, and this makes them ideal for use in a marine environment. Okay, enough of the serious stuff for a moment or two at least. Let's take a look at something completely different. Let's head back to pleasure. So this map is an example of how maps can be used for something not just serious and staid. Maybe they can be sometimes a little bit of fun as well. So this is part of a series illustrating Great British themes. This particular example focuses on Britain's music scene. Now, it does have a geographical base data, so Ordnance Survey, Land Ranger, that's a 1 to 50,000 data set. And then overlaid over the top is a wealth of information relating to Britain's music scene. So whether that's song titles, band names, locations of recording studios, or music festivals. All of the information that you could ever want, and possibly a great deal that you never really wanted, is contained within this particular map sheet. So if we take a look at the detail. So, have you ever wondered who was Eleanor Rigby? Where was Abbey Road? Who played at the first Glastonbury Music Festival? All of this information and more is contained within this map sheet. Now, it's not to everyone's taste. It is quite busy. There is an awful lot going on. But personally, I think they're great. They show that maps are not just serious things. They can be fun, they can be funky, they can be fabulous too. Of course, they can also be very personal. And it's this thought that leads me on to something which many in the UK would consider to be something rather unique. So what if a printed map could be custom made to your requirements? It could illustrate a favourite walk, it could commemorate a special event, or it could be a souvenir of your favourite location within the UK. Every map is unique, whether that's the area that is covered by the map, the title of the map, the image on the map cover. These three things tell each individual map story. What map story might you like yours to tell? And here we have an example of our very own personalised and customised map, focused on the map area of the customer's choice, the title of the customer's choice, and the image of the customer's choice on the map cover. This particular map story illustrates the favourite walks of Frincy the dog around our hometown of Frome, and I think it's a great example of how these maps can make such fabulous gifts and souvenirs too. Okay, I've spoken quite a lot about the maps that we produce. Now I'd just like to take a little look at how we produce them. Firstly, something about our company heritage. So Dennis Maps continues a tradition of large format printing, which is key to map production, that has existed in our hometown of Frome since 1850. Our current map printing capability consists of large format litho. This is used for volume production, industrial printing at speeds of up to 10,000 copies per hour. Large format digital printing. This is used for lower volumes, individual prints, as little as 1 copy. such as custom made, much slower speeds, as little as 45 copies per hour. Digital printing for map covers, again, used for lower volumes, individual prints, such as custom made covers. Think back to Frincy the dog. Again, much slower speeds, 700 copies per hour. This combination of technologies provides us with the perfect blend of speed, quality, and accurate representation of the cartographic detail. So where do I think that the future of map printing might be heading? Well, in the UK at least, I believe that we'll see an evolution towards a digitally printed, print-on-demand production model, rather than the current litho production model, where thousands of generic copies are printed for stock. I believe that we'll see much more customization and personalization. For example, map cover personalization will become a standard rather than a bit of a niche speciality as it is now. Ultimately, all printed maps will be digitally printed. The digital print technology isn't quite fully there yet, but I believe that it will develop and evolve over time. All of these future possibilities and opportunities represent something of a holy grail for me, combining as they do the physical output of the printed map with the creativity of the digital environment, which I believe will allow the printed map to retain its relevance and currency in the modern world. Okay, we've covered an awful lot of ground in this short time, demonstrating how maps can be used for both business and pleasure. I'm sure you have many questions, and if we don't have time for them all now, then I'm here for the rest of the conference. I've really appreciated your listening to me this morning, and now I'm really curious what questions you might have for me.